and welcome to Modern Sages podcast. We it's so funny because we had a total different thing that we were going to be doing and talking about, and then we've just felt very inspired as we've been talking to each other to really hit home on soul contracts, but also the healing miracles and healing benefits that we have seen through shamanic practices and how this has really helped bless our life in so many ways. And this is why we're doing what we're doing, is to help bring that awareness to people that there is so much more healing available and soulful healing. And that's what we're going to be really addressing today.
Welcome to Modern Sages podcast.
I'm Jen Gilbreth.
And I'm Candace Coons.
With over 25 years combined, we have delivered messages from beyond,
explored ancient healing wisdom, and integrated these profound teachings into our everyday life.
We are passionate about creating new ways of being human in the modern age by integrating the wisdom of the past with the present and coming into remembrance of who we truly are.
Are you ready to change your relationship to life itself? If the answer is yes, your journey begins now.
So before diving in, we wanted to talk to you today about Yarrow, which is such a beautiful and amazing herb.
Yeah, it was really cool because we're talking about a weed that people don't realize has all of these benefits, right? It grows in so many different places, but if you can start recognizing yarrow around you, you can understand how to use it, because it kind of has a bitter flavor. So you can use it for cooking. You can put it in different foods. It kind of has more of a bitter taste. So I would say don't add too much, but I would think that it would taste wonderful with more Italian recipes, like things that you would use with basil or oregano. And then you could put that into your food and also receive those healing benefits that it has. So this is something that you can either dry and you have it in a cap form. But you can also make like a balm, a healing balm out of it, because there's internal uses and external uses for this particular plant. So it's awesome.
You know, in ancient Chinese culture, it's very well known for healing, and the smell is so powerful. I know a lot of people use this in essential oils. Yeah. But in ancient Chinese practices, is that they also looked at this as a way of harmony, because it has such a beautiful yin yang energy. So it brings balance. And so it's also known for connecting heaven and earth together. And so when you're calling in those healing properties, it's like, okay, I'm a wounded soldier, let's say, who needs healing on the body. And then they apply this medicinal medicine, these beautiful flowers and herbs. And when we can add that into our space, it's like we're connecting heaven and earth together, and we're really bridging that beautiful space. And so it's known as like the heaven and earth connector of healing, of opening up your intuition. So you can use like the oil on like your third eye or during prayer or meditation. And it's also good for helping with your skin, of course, healing any wounds, helping stop the blood if you're bleeding too much.
Yeah, it stops bleeding.
Yeah, so many beautiful properties with it.
Yeah, isn't that cool? I mean, of course, most herbs have anti-inflammatory properties, which this does. It's antimicrobial, so it kills bacteria. It helps with urinary tract infections. Of course, like we were saying earlier, Achilles used it for his soldiers to help heal wounds and stop bleeding, helps with bruises and toothaches. It's just an amazing, again. Oh, it also helps dilate the blood vessels, which is interesting. So I think yarrow paired with cayenne would be a really amazing combination, because cayenne is known for that as well. And cayenne also stops bleeding. So those are two herbs that you can use with kind of similar properties in that way. So, and cayenne's so wonderful to pair with any herb, because it's like putting herbs on a big old semi truck as opposed to a small car into the pores. It opens up the vessels, it opens up the pores, so you can receive more of the healing benefits of whatever it's paired with. So I usually use cayenne paired with these other herbs so I can get higher doses of the medicinal properties. But I just find that interesting. It's like, oh gosh, cayenne has that in common with yarrow, which
Yeah.
is kind of cool.
It almost feels like the cayenne would be more of the heat, more of like the masculine, where the yar would bring in the feminine. Like you'd bring this balance of like opening and healing together at the same time. Like that was my first
Yes.
initial thought. So yes, I need to buy this oil. I don't have it yet. And also that like getting it in herb form and tinctures and all of the things that you can take with it. I just think that this is definitely something that we need to be adding into our daily life,
Mm-hmm.
especially when you have like little kids at home and you want to take care of yourself. A lot of times it's easier for moms to give permission to buy things for their kids. And so it gives you permission to say, hey, I'm going to get this for my family, but also it's for you. And so giving yourself that
Yes.
permission is so powerful.
And it's so much better on your body.
Yes.
It's so much more gentle and they're very
Yeah.
powerful. Just because they're gentle doesn't mean that they're not powerful. Herbs are amazing. And
Yeah.
that's why it's like my first go-to. First, I don't have anything against Western medicine, and I'm so grateful for Western medicine and everything that we have gone through as human beings to come to the levels that we are right now with science and technology and medicine and everything. But at the same time, Mother Earth or Pachamama created these herbs to help the body. And so I always lean there first. And then if it doesn't work, then I will reach out and see if I need to get medical attention. But I try to lean on my herbs first because it's so much
Yeah.
easier on the body, so much more gentle. And then I go in that direction if I need to with Western medicine. So anyway, hopefully that helps. Yarrow, it's got to be in the apothecary.
Yes, absolutely. We definitely need to do a podcast or a course on herbs. That would be powerful.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Yeah,
coming up soon.
that's on our list of to-dos.
One of the many things we have planned for Modern Sages.
Yes, we're always inspired with ideas. So we've got lots of things coming. That's for sure.
Yes, absolutely. Well, Candace, let's dive into this topic. And I don't know, I feel like this is going to be a really good conversation of bringing in why, why we have really chosen this path of healing and how it's helped empower us. And we've talked a lot about what it is and the basic, the tools that we can use. And so I don't know, I think it's good for us to like dive into personal examples and stories too about how we've seen a lot of healing and how it's helped us feel a lot more connected in life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, gosh, we've covered so many basic principles and topics regarding shamanism from season 1 to season 3. But you and I both felt prompted that it was time to even go deeper with it and talk about soul contracts too, and what we've learned through these journeys and soul contracts. And I was sharing with you a shamanic healing journey that I just went through just recently this last week. That was just, again, amazing. And even though these are ancient healing practices that have been around for hundreds of thousands, over 100,000 years, well, it's been around for over 100,000 years. Um, it's still relevant because that journey for me could be perceived as a miracle healing from an outsider. It was something that happened inside of myself, a shift that happened that could have taken months. It could have taken months for me to process and try to figure it out, and hours and hours of talk therapy or whatever I needed to do. And yet I do this journey. And for me, it shifted permanently. I felt different when I left. And so it's still relevant today. And we don't have to understand everything about it for it to still work. It's a healing path. And it has amazing, powerful tools that come with it. So I would love to dive deeper into that and share with our audience some of those experiences that we've had on a personal level.
I think it's important to start at the basics of this understanding. And shamanism is rooted, once again, as we've discovered, it's not a religion. It's not to take away from your previous religious experiences or whatever you believe.
Mhm.
It's a healing path. So it brings a lot of understanding and a lot of healing. And a lot of it is centered in the fact that you are a multidimensional being, meaning you are so much more than what you're experiencing. And yet, while we're here, we are experiencing our physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual aspects of who we are. So we're here living in this life. We have a lot going on, and shamanism helps you pull back to see things from a bigger perspective, to see that you are an infinite being, and it helps you discover more about your truth and why you're here versus getting stuck in the rut of the day-to-day things. And so
Yes.
remembering that is probably the first key and the first principle that's really honed in on when it comes to shamanic practice is you're more than your body, but yet you're still responsible for your body. You're still here having a human experience and you're still responsible for what you experience here, but you'll have things come up. And this is a beautiful way of navigating so you can make the very most of your time here versus getting stuck or being held back in a lot of ways.
Mhm. And that's so important because it's so easy to get so lost here.
So easy.
So easy to get completely consumed by the human experience. And the reason why this was so healing for me was because I almost like when I came up to my shaman at that time of my life, she's like, "Oh, why are you here?" And I said, "I want to I want to shift or change my relationship to life itself because I have this love-hate relationship with it. And I feel bad for feeling bad. I don't, I'm so wrapped up in it. And there's ideas and concepts that I have. Like I know I'm spirit. I feel like I know that to be true. I believe in a creator. I believe in these concepts on a mental level, but I haven't been able to embody it. I
Mm,
haven't been able to truly feel that for myself. I'm so wrapped up in the dream. I'm just so wrapped up. And so, as she worked with me, and as I work with people too, and as you do too, it's
mhm.
kind of like an unraveling of that. It's kind of like, okay, well, let's talk about the reality that you are multidimensional. First of all, you're not your body, your true identity, your true nature. You know that if your spirit inhabits the body, but at
Yes.
the same time, it goes when you leave and when you shift consciousness or when you leave the body and the body dies, and you believe that there is more and that there's this possibility of reincarnation and other lives and other dimensions and source. So obviously the spirit leaves, which is your consciousness, your true essence. So the body's not you. Well, the emotions that you experience are part of the vehicle of this human experience. And so a lot of the polarity and the duality and the range of all the different energies are part of the experience of being here. But
Yes.
you can't identify and say, but I am the emotion, because that'd be like looking at the hair saying, like we were talking about before, this hair follicle is me. And like,
Yes.
no, the hair follicle is not you. It's part of the whole, but it's not you. For you to fight wars over this little hair follicle would be ridiculous, right? Well, if you think about our emotions, it's like that. If you were to narrow it down to only that, to say, oh, I feel bad for feeling bad because somehow this means something about me, then I'm saying, well, then I'm that. I'm measured by what I'm feeling, which isn't true.
Mhm.
So then, in the shamanic teachings, it unravels that. And then it goes, okay, well, you're not your thoughts. So, along with the emotion, you're not your thoughts. And not only are you not your thoughts, but you share in a collective thought energy system that surrounds the whole planet. So, you actually share or tap into the energies of other thoughts. So even some of the thoughts that you have are not always yours or
Right.
belong to your experience or things passing through. They could be just passing through you. You don't have to make sense or identify with every single thought that comes in your mind. Now, as women, we know we think a lot.
Mm-hmm.
You're trying to sleep at night. Oh, I did this today. I wonder what she meant when she said that. And I don't know why he did that and why he didn't put this away and this and that and this. And gosh, I don't know. Oh, I got to get my nails done, or I got to get my hair done, or I got to, it's like women can go on, especially as women. I'm a woman, so I know this to be true. But we can go
Yes.
on and say, gosh, I don't even know why I can't sleep. It's because
Yeah.
you're thinking all these things, right? I heard
Yes.
a comedian talk about that, and she was making fun of how women think, and it was hilarious. I wish I could find the name of that comedian, because I would share it with you, because it was hilarious. But she was so right. Like we get so identified. And then if
Yes.
you have a cuss word go through your mind, oh gosh, that means I'm bad because I'm thinking that, or I heard this cuss word. I'm like, who cares? So the shaman, what was so great about the shaman as well for me is she was like, you need to sit back as if you're sitting on a bench and watching the cars go by. Like your thoughts are like the cars. If you attach yourself to a car that's driving by, you could hurt yourself, right? She's like, don't do that. Just sit back and just don't be attached. Just allow them to move through you. And then when you're focusing on the present moment and you are focusing on something in front of you, give it your full attention. She's like, you have to give the mind something to do, or it will entertain itself. It will just
Yeah.
entertain itself. And that helped me unravel from that, and to realize that this physical, emotional, and mental experience of being human is the vehicle of my true essence, which is the spirit that rides in that vehicle. And that was so important for me at that time, because, struggling, like we talked about before, with my depression and anxiety, I would get so drawn in to all of these different areas, and over identifying that I wasn't truly present in the now, and it was completely asleep of who I really was.
Yeah.
And that created suffering.
Yeah. It's so true. And I think that especially when you're highly sensitive, which I think many people are, and I think that when you're talking about feeling depression or feeling heavy or feeling stuck, is I just keep thinking about, I don't know, do you know Anita Morjani? Do you know about her? So
Sure, I
she
don't
has
think
a book
so.
called Dying to Be Me, but she ended up rejecting herself
Yes, she had a
because,
near death experience,
yeah,
right?
stage 4 cancer, and she had passed and then she came back. But she has a second book, and she actually was working with a shaman, and she was in, I don't remember where, but somewhere in South America working with a shaman. And he pulled her aside and was like, you have more of a purpose. You're not sharing your purpose, like pulling her out of like what she was going through. And after that, he helped her to see that the weaknesses, or her being very sensitive and her being very connected to spirit, was what made her sick in the first place, because she wasn't aware of how connected everything was: mind, body, soul, spirit. Like it's all one. And she wasn't aware of how deep that went. And so this next book that she has
Mm.
is all about how your strengths, it's called Sensitive is the New Strong, and how your strengths really are here to help you become stronger. Your weaknesses are your greatest strengths. And I feel like in shamanism, when you can remember that maybe those things you're feeling are actually a huge triumph within you, it's a positive outlet, it gives you more courage to actually move forward and to find the golden nuggets in hard times. It helps remind us or pulls us out of that heaviness. And for whatever reason, I just kept seeing that book pop into my mind. Sensitive is the New Strong is such a powerful book, especially because I feel like so many people are seeking, like, well, what next? I'm so low, I can't handle this. My life is terrible. Like there's just so much guilt and heaviness that we can experience here, that when we
Mhm.
realize maybe I am sensitive, we all are sensitive. We all are connected to the spirit. We all have spiritual
Yes.
awareness. But when we can see that
Yes.
we're not alone, and just how impactful that it is, because we are a multidimensional being. So if we're rejecting something within us, we're literally rejecting our body and it starts showing up in all these different ways. And so, like you're saying, Candace, it's like this unraveling. I am spiritual,
Mm-hmm.
mental, emotional, physical, all of these things are wrapping, they're all here. And so in shamanic practice, we're like unraveling it slowly so that you
Mm-hmm.
can actually comprehend it and it's not too overwhelming, but it gives you the courage and the strength to be able to do that. It's such a
Yeah,
beautiful healing path.
it is so beautiful and it's powerful because a lot of people, we get in this idea in our minds that in order to heal something, you have to do something. You have to take action. And there's certain times, I'm not saying that that's never the case. There are certain things you just have to do, right? But with this kind of work, what you become aware of is that once you go to the root of the energy or the emotion or the experience that has kind of created this domino effect,
Mhm.
physically, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, where it's kind of created this experience that's kind of wrapped around you. It's like if you can unravel that and get to the root of where it came from by bringing just your awareness to it, that seems to shift it. And it can lead to what would be perceived as miraculous healing, because just like dying to be me, her experience was not only did she die from cancer, but when she came back, she became completely healed because she became aware of what created that energetic, those energetic blocks, energetic,
Mhm.
uh, uh, what do you say? I'm having a mind blank because it's almost like it's like almost coagulating. It's like it's bunching and connecting together into a solid form is what that energy did over time.
Mhm.
Because of her sensitivity, it created these energy like pockets or um, solidity.
Yeah.
But there is a way that energy works. And we found this with energy work and also with shamanic work. It talks about this, that all things are usually rooted with an energy somewhere.
Mhm.
And so if you can go back to the original source and pull that out, and all that means is when you pull that out, all that means is just become aware of it. It's just bringing the light of your conscious awareness to that experience. It shifts the whole thing and it creates an unraveling of that energy or that bondage that it has with you. It's an amazing, powerful work. And the reason that it's so powerful is because this is how the system works. You know, we're emotional, mental, physical beings in this human experience. We're spiritual, and that energy and that consciousness, it's like once we bring our conscious awareness to that experience of this physical, emotional, mental self, it starts to release its attachments to us. It's like, oh, you see me, and well, now I don't need to be here anymore.
Yeah,
You know.
it's almost like when, so going into like soul contracts is there are people who will come in and out of your life, and maybe someone was in a relationship. Let's give this as an example to bring it to like concrete understanding. So let's say someone was in a relationship with someone and they felt like they were very connected, like, oh, this was divine intervention. This was a divine connection. And this is what I'm experiencing. And then let's say that other person leaves you and you're just devastated. And it's almost like a soul devastation. It's like deeper than heartbreak. It feels like it's like soul breaking. Like it's so heavy, so contrite. And it's almost feels like it's hard to navigate through. Well, when we talk about soul contracts, it's a lot about maybe certain people walking in or out, or people who were in your life, and what lessons that you came here to learn and what lessons they chose to learn with you. And so I like to
Mhm.
think of it as before we come here, we have this group pod, you could say, of people who are like, okay,
Mhm.
we're going to learn these lessons together. We're going to learn this, and I'm going to teach you this and this and this. And maybe at this time, I'm going to pull away from you and it's going to be devastating, but you're going to grow and you're going to figure out who you are because of that.
Yes.
And when we can pull back and see a relationship or see maybe why there's conflict in a relationship, or why it feels so soul devastating. If you pull away from this present moment, this physical experience, and see it in the eyes of a spiritual perspective, you can see, oh, this is what I'm learning. And this is the role that this person has played in my growth in this physical world. Does that make
Hmm.
sense?
Oh, yeah.
I'm trying to like
And
explain it very simply.
yes. And when it comes, and you see this a lot with a lot of people where they like, I felt this soul connection,
Hmm.
and it did not turn out the way that I would have thought it would have turned out, considering it's obvious there was something here that I recognize in this bond. And it's devastating when it doesn't work out. It's so hard. And that's another beautiful thing about the work, because it's built on this premise that yes, you're a multidimensional being. And at the early seasons, we talked about the tree of life. We talked about the lower world and what the tree of life represents, the lower world, the middle world, and the upper world. And then you're given these tools, after you've unraveled that, okay, you're not your body, you're not your emotions, you're not your mind. Are you ready to go into these altered states of consciousness and now explore these different elements of yourself? One of the coolest things that you get to explore are these soul contracts,
Hmm.
especially as you go into your middle to upper world. There's middle, upper world kind of journeys, and then there's upper world journeys. But when you start exploring that middle, upper, and upper world, you get to visit the Akashic records. You get to kind of have access, not kind of, you get to have access to these different lifetimes, and also the different agreements that you have with certain individuals. And often our most difficult interactions are our greatest teachers, because pain has purpose. It creates incentive, change, shifts in us. It makes us uncomfortable enough to where we decide into doing something else, or
Yeah.
taking a certain choice, a right or a left, or going this direction or that direction. There's great purpose in these relationships. And often these soulmate kind of energies will come into our lives, and there's a recognition, a soulful recognition between us and that individual. And then we have these ideas about what that's supposed to mean, right?
Yeah, we put our like the world
And the
label.
expectations, and
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
as you go through this process, it is an awakening process. It's an awakening of who you really are, but also the different dimensions and realities and experiences that your soul has had. And so being able to go to the Akashic records and consciously like go to these places and look into, what are these agreements? Like, why did this person agree? Have that soul meet you there and explore those contracts, gives us understanding and healing around it, because it's not so much that we need to go do something. It's just seeing things from the spiritual perspective that helps us heal and shift.
Hmm.
It's like, okay, it doesn't make what that person said or did right or wrong, but it helps you. I think it helps deepen that forgiveness process, where it's like, it wasn't necessarily right or wrong, or it may become blatantly wrong what they did, right? But at least I understand why we needed to come together, and why this needed to happen in order for me to make certain choices or go a certain direction, and how this was done for the growth of everyone involved.
Hmm.
It helps you deepen that forgiveness and understanding, and helps you let that go so you
Yeah.
can move forward. And it's so powerful.
Yeah. And in the past couple months, you and I both have dealt with a lot of different um relationship shiftings that are going on in life.
Mhm.
And we both have taken time in the Akashic records to really be like, okay, why does this keep showing up, or why does this hurt so bad, and what's the lesson to be learned? And how do I navigate through this instead of getting stuck in the victim mode or blaming other people? It's like, okay, where am I responsible? What am I to learn from
Mhm.
this? And what is the
Mhm.
other person to learn from this? And do I move forward or do I take a break? Do I take a step back? And what's going to be the most healing for me and for them? But also, it's like, how do I honor both of our souls' contract together? How do I
Yes.
honor what they're experiencing? And sometimes it is taking a break and letting that go. Other times, like you said, you can call and talk to them spirit to spirit, where you
Mhm.
can say, hey, I really love you and I really care for you. But for right now, I feel like I need to take time for me. I honor your journey and I'm going to send all of your angels and ancestors to be with you so that you can get all that you need to in your soul's journey as well. And sometimes it's like I've been saying that prayer multiple times a day sometimes, or different things like that, of just surrendering and allowing things to be how they are regardless of the circumstance. And there could be really great, also really amazing relationships that you're like, oh, what are we supposed to learn here together, and what's the point? So there's good and not good and bad, because bad isn't really a thing, but there's good, and there's also things we're learning with. And so it's like seeing it for what it is instead of making it bad and wrong is like, this is a learning opportunity, will also open up this space to really bring in healing when it comes to soul contracts. And the Akashic Records is a beautiful place to really dive into that space and
Mhm.
find those understandings. But once again, it's tangible. It's like, okay, what's the point of going there? What's the point of doing this? It's to ultimately help you live your best life and help encourage others to do the same, empowering their spiritual
Mhm.
journey as well.
Mhm. And the cool thing too is that it's just one area that you can receive healing from.
Mm-hmm.
To understand kind of on a mental level, it works with the mind in that sense of making sense of things. But if you go into the lower world, that's where you can access um, those experiences that you've had that created wounding inside of you, or the parts that you kind of pushed away of power within yourself, that they're power places. Maybe you felt it wasn't safe for you to be full in your power because of a situation or whatever, but there's soul retrieval work that you can do, which is built around the concept that when you go through trauma or wounding, sometimes we push parts away
Mm-hmm.
for survival, or at least there's a part of us that feels like it's died off in order to move forward because we don't know how to deal with it.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And it could have happened in this lifetime, or it could have happened in other lifetimes. And that's what's amazing about this, is because as you journey into these places and you do your own healing, you realize that, okay, I'm not that, right? These were experiences that I had while being human, or maybe you weren't human, maybe it was other places too, but this is what I experienced as I came into form, into a body. But I'm so much more. And I've had all of these different experiences. I'm so much bigger than I
Yeah.
realized. I'm capable of so much more than I realized. And that in itself is very empowering. It's like it's really interesting because it's such an internal process, and yet it changes everything. It changes the way you see yourself. It changes the way you see the world. It changes the way you see humanity.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why it's like you do your own work, you heal from the inside, then your whole outward reality changes, because your engagement with it shifts, your understanding, your relationship to it changes. So it's just really amazing what we're capable of. It's like,
Mm-hmm.
I think that's what is so beautiful about it, is like, gosh, I had no idea, really. I maybe had thoughts or possibilities, but it wasn't until I've experienced, I'm like, what I'm capable of and what you're capable of. Because if I'm capable, I know you are and they are, right? So
Yeah.
it's so cool in that sense of how empowering it is, you know?
Mhm.
And then I look at my form different, because even though I'm not my body, I'm not my emotions, I'm not my mind, I'm the spirit, the consciousness. But I've also realized that everything is energy, though. And that if everything is energy, then my body is energy, that the molecules are energy, that there's no empty space, that everything is filled with some kind of force, that life force energy. So therefore, even the what I perceive as a solid form is not even solid.
Great.
But this vehicle that I'm riding in is holy and sacred too, even though I can't identify and say, oh, that's me, because that would be very small thinking, because
Mhm.
I'm part of the one of that creator consciousness. But even the way that I look at my body, and this is someone who struggled with body image issues for years and years and years, I was able to look at my body and say, this is holy. And that for me, it changed everything for me
Yeah, it's
to
beautiful.
even say that. And that's just the truth. Like that's just the truth, right?
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Just is.
Mhm.
So that's what's so amazing too about it. And I know like first season we talked about basic concepts and we're kind of reviewing over some of those basic concepts. And then second season we really dove into some of the tools you can use, and we put out the mindfulness practice and the breath exercises and the beginning journey of to the sacred meadow to meet your animal allies. It's like once you get to that level of altered consciousness, this whole inner landscape, this whole world opens up to you. The dimensions open up to you. And now you can go down to the lower world. You can
Mhm.
go into the middle world journeys, or you can go into the upper world journeys. You have the keys all there and can go anywhere to explore all that for your own healing.
Yeah, and I love that too because we have the medicine we're seeking for within. We have the answers within because we are divine. We're all one. We're all connected. And so I think it's powerful to remember that like you can, you can do breath work and you can be connected and you can feel that flow of energy. And you don't have to rely on someone else all the time to give you the answers. Once you have the tools in place and you're able to do so, you can go to the meadow and have someone meet you there in spirit and help guide you to different places as well. And it does help to have someone guiding you, like, especially when getting started. Like, I've loved having Candace help me on my journeys and as I'm helping others as well. But there also is a time where it's like, I don't have to have Candace lead me through places because I've learned and trust myself. So I can have that same connection. And so it's kind of finding that balance back and forth. But ultimately, it's just a powerful tool to really help you navigate this life and like bring a lot more power to you and to your journey and to like love who you came here to be and embrace all that life has to offer because we only are here for this short time. Why not embrace it? Why not fully connect it and live life to that fullest potential?
Absolutely. That's the cool thing about it, is that even though we're talking about this and we help lead people to gain confidence, right? I've just, it's like that whole fish analogy. Instead of just fishing for you, I'm going to show you how to fish. So then you can go fish and be self-sufficient, right?
Yeah.
And I find it interesting, self-sufficient, which I think is funny. That sounds like fish in the word. But anyway, I don't know why that was humorous for me, but I was just like, oh, interesting. So shamanism is the path of self-revelation, right? It's where you go, where you have go figure that out for yourself, where you understand because you are divine and that you are not separated. Once you come back into remembrance of who you are, and then you're given tools on how to access these different aspects of yourself, you go get it. It's the path of ultimate accountability as well. That's why they call it the power path. not just the
Mm.
beauty way, but the power path. Because it's like, once you understand that about yourself, for example, even like in the upper world journeys, one of the beautiful things for me, for the upper world journeys, is that I've always been, this sensitive as well and connected to spirit.
Yeah.
But, and I always felt this deep connection to my angels, to my ancestors, and also to Jesus,
Mm-hmm.
ever since I was really little. And my parents were not very religious. And, but for my heart was so drawn to him, and his teachings, his life, anything I could find out about him. And I knew that I could feel his presence with me.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, I didn't have a reference point, or, someone talking about that or calling upon him. I just felt like he was walking with me. Like, I'd be like, I'm walking down a sidewalk and I'd feel his presence with me. I'm like, I know he's with me, but why would he be with me? Right.
Mm-hmm.
And what I loved about the upper world journeys was that it took it out from just the simple, like this experience, like, I believe he's with me. I can feel him with me. Or I read about him, or it's, I hear all these stories and it's more of a mental concept. When I started exploring the upper worlds, I got to spend time with him. I got to spend time with the creator. I got to spend time with the angels, and
Mm-hmm.
also with the fairy realm and all of the different levels of consciousness. I got to go there, and I still get to go there today.
Yeah.
That for me is irreplaceable, because I'm stubborn. Like I told you, I'm a practical mystic. Okay, I'm a mystic, but I'm a practical mystic. Like, you can tell me, but
too.
until I fully feel it and I know it to be true for myself, I would have, doubts about it.
Yeah.
So that was so big for me, with not only to travel to the Akashic records, but to be able to go and spend time with I call her the Heavenly Mother, and feel that nurturing energy, and go spend time with Sophia Gaia, or Pachamama, Earth Mama, and spend time with her soul and energy. She's powerful too.
Mm-hmm.
Spend time with Heavenly Father and have him hold me, and the way that he held me I can't even describe it.
Yeah, it's
The
beautiful.
fulfillment I felt and the love I felt being held. I felt so little, like a child in his arms. And the love I felt was just this unconditional father's love that I can't even put into words. But it
Yeah, it's
healed my
beautiful.
heart. So I don't know if people are aware. And I think that's what's so wonderful about us sharing these conversations, because my hope, and I think it's your hope too, is that we're not here to say we know it all. We're not here to say that, hey, you need to just listen to me and I'm the teacher, the leader here. No, I don't have interest in that. You don't have interest in that. Like, we're really
Mm-hmm.
coming from the perspective that we are soul brothers and sisters. We're just providing some tools for you and making you aware of what you're capable of
Absolutely.
and what healing can look like.
Yeah, and sometimes you need help, or you need someone to help show you the way or talk about the way, to introduce you, or to open you up in that way. And so that's,
Mm-hmm.
our hope and our desire is to bring that awareness. And obviously we have things to also help guide you. On our YouTube account, we have meditations, journey work, we have all these different tools that we're here to help with. And so I don't know, I just feel like there's so much more that a lot of us are yearning for. And
Yes.
this was it for both of us. This was the opening up the gate and helping
Mm-hmm.
us learn more. And of course, we're not done learning, and we're still going to learn, and we're still going to move forward. And so I don't know, I just hope that this really opened up your mind and your heart to see that their healing is possible in so many ways.
Yes.
And that this can be a path for you. This can be a very beautiful healing and a very path of accountability and of self-understanding and of love. And when we can pull back and see things from that way, even when it comes to relationships, we can see things in a totally different perspective that gives us the opportunity to make the most of what we're experiencing here. And that also means holding your boundaries and standing up for what you believe in a way
Or
that's
letting go.
healthy. Yes, that's healthy and honest for you. And that's what this path helps you with. It helps you see a different perspective, a higher understanding to navigate through this time. And it's funny that we talked about Yarrow today because I feel like that's a perfect blend of the yin and the yang and like combining heaven and earth together and bringing in healing. Like if you could describe the shamanic path, I feel like it would be Yarrow. Like it would be that same thing. Right?
Yeah.
Like having that healing of bridging a higher consciousness, heaven, and this physical realm and what we're experiencing, bringing that into balance, which is what Yarrow does, which is also what the shamanic healing path has brought for both of us. And so I just think it was
Mhm.
funny how that like that connection could be very interspersed together.
Exactly. Awesome. Well, thank you
Yes.
so much for just having this conversation with me, Jen. And I'm so excited that we get to talk about this with other
Mhm.
people because um, that is my hope, is that our conversations will open up the mind, the possibilities as we integrate these teachings together and share that with our audience. And I hope that there was a lot that everybody took away from it.
Yes, absolutely. Once again, thank you so much. If this really hit home for you, or if you feel like this podcast could benefit a family or a friend, please feel free to send it to them or to leave us a review. We would love to hear feedback from you. So once again, thank you for being a part of our tribe.
Thank you for watching Modern Sages. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel.
We are so grateful for your support. If you want to follow us, we have an Instagram account as well as on Facebook. We have our podcast, which is the Modern Sages podcast as well.
And we are so excited to launch our Gifts of Spirit classes in our Modern Sages Mystery School.
Absolutely. Oh, we're so excited. So we're going to link the information below in the show notes for more information about our mystery school.